This is Jana from Mitra, and today we'll talk about how to deal with gaps in your CV when applying for jobs in Germany. There can be several reasons for having a gap in your CV, right? Maybe you went for traveling, maybe you went back into education, maybe you had a child, one of the nicest reasons to take a gap, or maybe you simply had to take care of a sick relative member or had some illness yourself, right, which kept you from, taking up a new job. And then I think in many cases you were probably just unemployed and are wondering how to deal with this, how to handle this in front of recruiters. Let me say in general, I think here in Germany, it's accepted to have a gap on your CV. I mean, it depends a bit on the employer, but it's okay as long as you have a good explanation for it. That's the most important fact here. In Germany, it's all about having good explanations. So the first main aspect here is if you have a gap in your CV, there should be a good explanation. Don't just leave a gap in your CV when you write it. So if you took care of a child, you can mention this as the latest part. Or if you had to take, time off because you had an illness or had to take care of someone, you can mention this. And you don't have to give details on this, what kind of illness you had or whatever, that's not needed, but just state the reason why there's a gap. And going for traveling, for instance, is also a very good reason, and a lot of companies actually like that because it's also, it shows something about your character, right? If you took this decision to take some time off. The most important aspect here is to show that you were really active. So if you were unemployed for a particular amount of time, then I think even in that case, it's particularly important to show what you were doing. And you can do this in several ways. So you can showcase that, okay, since this point of time, I'm unemployed, or maybe your role was made redundant. I mean, this happens sometimes, unfortunately, especially in times of Corona. And then you can show what you were doing since then. Show that you were, trying to build up additional skills, educating yourself, maybe learning German, as I always say in my other videos. If you've watched them, you've seen this many times. Learning a new language is a really good reason to maybe take some time off. I think that's a really good add-on for employers over here. And also, if you were doing some freelance work or consulting, that's something you could show. Or volunteering is also always a very good way to, fill gaps. So if you are based in Germany and you're struggling with finding a job, try to take up some kind of volunteering work. We have volunteering agencies for that. And just, try to learn the language and so on. Just show that you're really, really active. And then also, if you were taking time off for a longer time because of an illness, or because you had to take care of someone, or because you were in, childcare, what employers may be worried about is how up to date you are, especially if you're in a technical domain. You really have to show that you know the industry trends and standards, and that your skills are, following these trends, that you've kept yourself up to date. So that's something you really have to showcase. So all this can either be mentioned on your CV, you can mention what you were doing in bullet points, and then you can also mention this in your cover letter. So just show how active you were. And then the other thing you have to show is that, let's say, the matter has been resolved. So particularly if you had to take care of a sick family member, show that, or mention in one sentence that, okay, I was taking care of, I don't know, my mother or my father for the last year, but now we've decided to, hire a caretaker, for instance, because that's what the employer may be worried about, if this is, still affecting you somehow. So two things you have to do: show that you're proactive, and show that the, let's say, problem has been solved, if, unemployment was not the reason for it. So that's just really, really important. And then be prepared to answer questions about this in your interview. And that's where I often experience that when I ask candidates about gaps in their CV, they turn out to be very insecure about it. And that, doesn't leave me with a comfortable feeling, because then I'm sometimes feeling, okay, maybe this person has to hide something, or, who knows if this person is telling me the truth or not. And that's something I really recommend you to practice. So the most important part is that you feel comfortable with the decisions you took in the past, and that you're able to, explain them. And if you are able to do so, I think everything will turn out fine for you. But that's really relevant. If you make it into the second round after screening, and if you talk to someone directly, you really have to make this person feel comfortable and show that you feel secure with your situation. And of course, there should be some kind of self-reflection. So if you did something wrong, or if there were some skills you had to develop to find a job, that's fine. You can address it. But show that you are self-reflected and that you've learned out of it and that you feel comfortable with it. That's the most important aspect. And then if you manage to do this, then I think the recruiter on the other side will also be fine with it in most of the cases. Of course, I cannot speak for everyone who's hiring people here. But that's just the general advice I would like to give you. So yeah, that was it from my side. Hope this advice was helpful for you. Leave me comments, leave me questions. Check out my other videos on YouTube. We do a lot of content. Everyone from Mitra is doing a lot of content on how to apply for jobs in Germany, and I can only recommend you to check them out and stay tuned.